Hello, coaches! Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Today, I'm chatting with Joel Bevans, elementary school curriculum coordinator at the International School of Panama. Joel has had a wide variety of education experiences, including extensive work with the cultures of thinking through Harvard's Project Zero, and he brings them all together in his approach to school leadership and coaching. In today's spotlight, we focus on the practical application of coaching cycles in a busy school setting. Everything from how to get started to working with teachers at different readiness levels for coaching. You might notice a little bit of delay, a change of setting, and some background noise on this call. We had some internet challenges, but we powered through. To hear more about Joel's work with culture of thinking and how he's balancing his coordinator and coach role, check out the full episode wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy any part of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more conversations like this, please subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell to find out every time we release a new episode. Remember, you can also listen to the full Coach Better episode wherever you get your podcasts. We are passionate about the impact coaching can have on student learning, school culture, and teacher professional growth, and we want to help you coach better. We've got some great opportunities for more learning after today's conversation, so stick around all the way to the end. All right, welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Today I'm here with Joel Bevans. Joel, welcome. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Kim. Yes, I'm delighted to be here. I really am.
Thank you. Joel, can you start us off by telling us a little bit about your education background?
Yeah, so I qualified as a teacher in Newcastle upon Tyne, so in the north of England. And then my future wife, we met at university and she'd already moved down to London. And I didn't have a job, but I did have a degree in my hand. And I decided to follow her. And so moved down to London and I did supply teaching for around about 6 months, 7 months. And it gave me a great experience of really getting to know my craft and getting to know what teaching is like in the real world. And I loved it. It was hard, but I learned so much from amazing teachers every single day. And working with kids of all age ranges from grade 5 all the way down to kindergarten really opened my eyes to what is possible in schools. And so I was lucky enough to get a long-term position to cover a grade 5 class, which I took on. And then they offered me at the end of the year a permanent contract. So I worked for that school in Southeast London in Lewisham for a little over 7 years. And I loved every minute of it. And subsequently, we were expecting our first child. And we didn't know if London was going to be the right place for us to grow as a family. And so I turned up at a job fair in May, not really expecting or not really knowing what was going to happen. And if I'm honest, I was left a little scared by the whole ordeal of so many people in the room and not really having a clue what I was doing. But I managed to get 3 job offers at that point, and one of them was to International School Luxembourg. And so we moved from London to Luxembourg, which at the time was a safe move for us, very close to home and family could visit, and made a lot of sense. So I worked in Luxembourg for 6 years, and I was a grade 1 teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher, and I was also a activator for thinking and learning, which meant that I supported the school in growing a culture of thinking and Ron Richard's work, which was really exciting, and I learned so much in that role. And in the past 7 months, I've been in Panama. So we moved here in July last year, and it's been a whirlwind time in Panama. Everything has been very different. The school the environment, the culture, but it's been such an amazing learning experience, and we're embracing every single second we have here. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how things turn out. I never expected to be living in Panama, and but it's been amazing for us as a family, and it's been a really exciting move. So we're glad to be here.
This is making me think about your other role, and I don't mean to take time away from your current school, but you were talking about the culture. I already forgot the cool title with the cultures of thinking, activator for thinking.
Activator for thinking and learning, yeah.
Thinking and learning. What elements of that, tell me a little bit about that job, and what elements of that are you bringing into this like coaching curriculum coordinator role? Because since you have mentioned that to me, I have actually seen other people have that in their job title, and I hadn't heard of it before you mentioned it. So I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great title. It really is. It's a wonderful title. Yeah, I mean, it was such an interesting role. It really was. It was, we began the journey with Ron Richard coming into the school, and we decided we were embarking on a Cultures of Thinking journey, and we did sort of year one, and then the school decided that, you know, rather than have subject or content specific coaches, it would go down the route of having coaches basically who would support the development of a Cultures of Thinking at school. And so there was 4 of us at the time. So 4 of us through the lower school, who had almost like a 75 to 70% timetable, and then we would have a release time out of that as well, where we would work and support with teams and individuals in terms of developing a culture of thinking, and that could be honing in on the language that people were using in the classroom, and so going in and doing observations, or it could be modeling some lessons through thinking routines, or it could be co-teaching or team teaching, or there's a variety of ways that we could do it. It was really very open, and we were given the time and space to sort of make the role ourselves, which was great as well. I mean, not only that, we also led a lot of the professional learning opportunities that we had during Wednesday afternoons, which was the half day at school. And so we were the people who would keep the candle burning, basically, of Cultures of Thinking. And we did that. It was a brilliant opportunity. And so, you know, I think taking a lot of the things which I used with teams and individuals, a lot of the techniques which I learned during my time in Cultures of Thinking, maybe the routines and the structures and the protocols using in place, I think they're very supportive and helpful in coming to a decision or making changes or thinking about changes, certainly. And so, yeah, and I think maybe just the way to listen. I think it comes back to that as, again, listening and maybe asking the right questions again. So I think a lot of my training through Cultures of Thinking is really supporting me now in my particular role. And I'm still sort of working on Cultures of Thinking. It's not something that you're going to be done with, and it's going to be a continuing journey. And I'm lucky enough to still be thinking about, you know, that particular element of education as well. So I'm working with Harvard online and Project Zero, and I'm coach for 7 teams at the moment throughout the world in their journeys of Cultures of Thinking, which is also great for me. So I'm sort of continuing my thinking about thinking, yes, and still coaching and supporting other teams throughout that. And I'm bringing elements of Cultures of Thinking into here, but it's about respecting what has happened before here. And, you know, it's not saying, okay, well, I found this one thing and we're going to move to that. But I think it's about, again, just adding things here and there which can make things better. And that's what we're trying to do. We're making teaching and learning every day. That's what we want to do. We're trying to make it better.
And that's like a special thing about a job like yours or a coaching role in general, is that you can bring all that diverse experience and fit it into the context of the school and make it appropriate for the school. I think it's so cool that your previous school had these 4 coaches that really focused in on the cultures of thinking, because I have been fortunate to work in some schools that really focused on particularly the thinking routines, visible thinking in terms of thinking routines, and then metacognition in terms of students being able to obviously talk about their learning. And think about the ways that they think and learn. And then other schools where they don't have that culture, and you can see a really strong difference in so many things, in the ways that students can articulate what they're learning and why they know what they know about what they're learning and why they think they're learning and all that kind of stuff. And then also in the ways that teachers approach thinking about their teaching and learning. Like this, the cultures of thinking, it does provide such a framework and foundation for the way that we look at everything that we do. So I could see how you could bring so many of those elements to your new job now. Is there anything in particular, you mentioned thinking routines, structures, and protocols being helpful in making decisions and thinking about change. Is there anything in particular, any examples in particular you could point to that you were like, oh, this was a great way that I took my cultures of thinking experience and applied it in this new context that may not be using cultures of thinking?
Yeah, so recently we've been thinking in elementary school around about sort of the assessment opportunities that we're providing for students. And so I ran sort of 3 sessions with the elementary school around about sort of the opportunities that we're providing for our students. And so the first one was mainly based around about the idea of feedback. And, you know, feedback is so important in any sort of learning structure. And, you know, it was based really on sort of Kath Murdoch's, in her book, Power of Inquiry. She's got it's about 37 formative instruction techniques, which she recommends to use in an inquiry-based school. And we've been reading that book as a book study. And so this wasn't an add-on to what was happening in the school already. This was already beginning, conversations were already beginning. But what I was trying to do by offering the formative assessment piece first was by giving them the opportunity and the time, which, you know, we don't really actually honour that for a lot of our schools, do we, to be perfectly honest, giving them the time to dig deeper and to choose a couple of these these formative assessment techniques, which are going to support their teaching and then students learning, and maybe around about setting goals as well. So we introduced something called tag feedback as a way of giving feedback across the school. And so that was sort of session 1. And session 2 then moved on to a bit more of trying to think of, at the end of a unit, how can we really make assessment opportunities authentic? Coming into the school this year, there's been amazing learning happening, but I think one of the things which I saw a little bit of a gap is that how can we actually make the assessment, usually the summative assessment piece, a little bit more real life, a little bit more exciting for the students. A lot of the learning that was being documented towards the end of a unit was kind of traditional in many ways, and I saw an opportunity to open up the opportunities, to make them broader, to make them wider, to give children more choice in what they're showing and how they're showing it. And so I used the GRASPS model from McTighe, and it was great. And so I introduced it to teams, and then what they had to do, they had to look at their unit, their upcoming unit, so the last unit at the end of the year, which they're just going into now, and they had to completely redesign their summative assessment. But they also had to link it in with the formative assessments, which they'd already looked at in part 1 of this. And so, you know, and then part 3 was then developing that assessment and getting feedback from other teams, and then refining that in team meetings. And so subsequently now teams have created a completely brand new formative and summative assessment to their current unit of learning, and which will mean that hopefully learning has been redefined in some way. Students are going to be given opportunities to show and to be excited about learning. You know, that's what we want. We want students of this age to love learning, and I think that is what this you know, that's what I've tried to support during this role. And I think the culture of thinking element has been, you know, how can we create opportunities that students really want to dig deeper into? How can we make them authentic? How can we make them real life? How can we get kids excited about it? And so that's sort of a link with culture of thinking, but also, you know, an element that I saw that we could support teaching and learning here. And
cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot going on in lots of different areas. I love your structure for that training, and it's so cool to see I do a lot of trainings too, and it's like talking to you, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a training I would do, and oh, I would use that model too, and oh, I love hearing all those different connections. It's also making me think that your school must have a pretty strong culture of professional growth to be starting out thinking about formative and summative assessments and totally transitioning that like just within your almost regular school day. Because I think lots of schools are so busy they aren't bringing that into their regular school day. That's something that they bring somebody outside, like me, in to come and do a workshop. And then they work on that over the PD days over the course of the year. And it's not like just kind of part of the regular routine. Would you say that in your school you have this kind of culture of thinking and maybe that the coaching fits into that? Or what kind of structures are set up to make this kind of thing possible at your school?
Yeah, I think, since coming to the school, I've been blown away really by the way that people are so professional and so wanting to learn. There's just such a great culture in the school amongst the teachers of wanting to learn with each other, but also from each other. And that's just such a powerful thing to come into. And the assessment opportunity came about really just because of just me thinking and me having conversations with team leads and thinking about how we can potentially redefine the learning. And I sort of spoke to them, and I spoke to the admin team who I work with in elementary school, and I said, I really see that this is an opportunity for us to think about how we do use assessment in the school. And they were very supportive in terms of the time that they allowed, 3 sessions. So it was almost like 5 hours of professional learning time, I think is, which was great. And I really appreciate that time. We're also going to revisit the units at the end of the year and get other feedback on it. So that will probably be about 6.5 hours where we've been allowed to think about this. And so having that time in place has been great. Having people open to new ideas and to new ways of thinking has been great. I was so happy after the GRASPs opportunity with teams that I had 3 teams come up to me and said that was really, really good. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And that means that we're doing something right, and that means that we're learning from each other. And I think again it comes down to sort of it's not just one way of doing things. I think one of the most powerful elements of doing that assessment was allowing people to get feedback from each other. And so understanding about what was happening in other grades, making connections, because a lot of them were like, oh, actually, we're doing something on the SDGs as well, or we're doing something on economics. Can we partner up here? And I think so. Just the culture is great, and people are willing to try. People are willing to learn, and I think if you have that, then that's hugely powerful.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Then you will love the Coach Microcredential program. We know because our current participants are always sharing their feedback with us, and we ask them to share their experiences with you. Each week, we'll be sharing a new voice from inside the cohort of the coach, so you can get a participant's perspective on what will make the program just right for you.
During the journey in this course, there were many times that I was in a very difficult position personally in my life, and with the new schools, new country, and she's always been there to listen, to support, and give suggestions. And that is, I think, the most valuable thing. It's not about just reading some coursework and then writing your assignments. It's more about what you're doing in practice and doing a real professional reflection on your own practice. And that's exactly how you learn. And I've really enjoyed it so far.
This is just one of the voices from our current The Coach cohort. Here's what a few others have to say.
I'd really advise anyone interested in taking the coach to take the plunge and go for it.
So I highly recommend it.
So do it.
So I say go for it. Definitely take the coach. I couldn't recommend it more.
But overall, this course is fantastic because it's made me feel awesome. It's made me feel excited for my future.
If I were to give any piece of advice or message to future cohort members, it is to take the course. If you are on the fence, please take it.
As you can see, this micro-credential is for all educators, not just coaches, because you develop the coaching skills you can use in all aspects of your practice. You don't have to be a coach to have a coaching conversation with a student, a fellow colleague, a school leader, or even a parent. When you're ready to learn more about the coach, click on the link below or reach out to us at Eduro Learning on any of our social media platforms. Registration for our next cohort opens soon. Don't miss it. Expand your professional learning network, dive deep into 26 weeks of curated coaching content, and get your own private mentor for an entire academic year. We can't wait to work with you. Are you ready to take your coaching skills to the next level? Join the next cohort of The Coach and make it happen.